Welcome, oblivious captains of industry, to Geek Salad's Retro Movie Review from the Geek Salad Podcast. I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And joining us tonight, because Todd, unfortunately, was also under the weather, and so we bring below us Mr. Tom Green from the Movies After Work podcast.
Hey there, guys.
Wait. Did you tell him to blow us?
I said below us.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and Tom is shooting from his new digs. How exciting!
Yes, shooting from my new digs in Gizmo cosplay. If you all this hair, if you notice.
You know what, Tom? I can get you in touch with somebody who does really nice headbands. So keep it all out of your face, and you look like a rock star. So, as you are aware, because you clicked on the tile, we are talking tonight about maybe not the best part 2 in moviedom, but definitely in the top 10 of part 2s in moviedom. Joe Dante's 1990 release, Gremlins 2, The New Batch.
Maybe not the best, but certainly one of the more unique part 2s.
This is, yeah, I mean, that's why I said, like, it might be in your top 10 of part 2s. I have never been more surprised by a sequel, especially at this time. 1990 was a safe year it was a very safe year for movies. So to take a hit from 6 years before and then turn the entire concept on its ear in the way that they did with as much money as they put into it, that's worth an applause.
Yeah. I mean, really, though, if you take a look at the concept of the first Gremlins movie, with setting up the rules, you kind of limit what they could do with a sequel without just doing a carbon copy. So, I mean, unless you go completely out there and like make Gizmo into a gremlin, kind of making a self-parody is one of the few avenues they could have gone. I just wish they'd kind of they projected it better, because if you go onto YouTube and watch the first trailer for this movie, I don't know what the kind of movie they thought they were showing, but it certainly wasn't what we got.
So let me ask, did either of you guys see it in the movie theater on its release? No?
No.
I'm the only one.
I knew you did.
Saw it opening weekend. And I was astounded by it because, I mean, let's look back at the summer of 1990, shall we? This was released with, I believe, the third or fourth week of Dick Tracy having been out, which was kind of like one of the bigger summer movies. Yeah. I believe it opened at number 4. So it did not do well at all. And I don't know if that's because the trailers didn't make it look interesting or just word of mouth of people that didn't quite get it.
Yeah, I got the budget versus the box office here.
Yeah.
Not good. Budget 50 million, box office 41.5.
Is that
I imagine go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask if that was worldwide or not.
Probably not.
Okay. Go ahead, Tom. Sorry.
I was gonna say I imagine some of the turnout or lack thereof was probably also from backlash from the original being part of the PG-13 creator saga, of films from the 80s. So I imagine there were still some backlash of parents and families refusing to go to a sequel, even with a more appropriate rating.
Right. But if you think about it, though, those kids that saw Gremlins too young are now 6 years older. Because there was a giant gap in between when the original movie came out and then New Batch came out.
Was this one PG or PG-13?
PG-13.
This was PG-13.
This was a hard PG-13.
I'm genuinely kind of surprised, actually, because it really doesn't feel like a PG-13.
I wouldn't say it's a hard PG-13. I mean, most of the blood isn't red. I don't really remember any big moments of swearing in the film. all the sexual innuendo is very broad and comical.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
The first one I could definitely see as PG-13. This one, it felt more like PG.
Yeah. I mean, they leaned in hard with the Warner Brothers animation tropes in this. I mean, just you start from the opening shot of the movie. Isn't an opening shot at all. It's the Warner Brothers shield with Bugs Bunny riding out on it, and then Daffy Duck taking his turn on the shield. And you know this is the kind of movie you're going to get. They are going to take as much of the Warner Brotherness that they have and just infuse it into this movie.
Yeah, and they did.
You're getting Looney Tunes, whether you realize it or not.
Exactly. And the thing is, though, if you think about the Looney Tunes, like the sound effects and the gags worked a whole lot better in this than they did in Batman Forever.
Yeah.
If you remember the Riddler Batcave scene.
Boing, 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 boing.
Tom has got that look like I've erased that movie from my memory. I know none of what you talk about.
No, the thing for me with to go on as quick a tangent as possible. The thing for me with Batman Forever is when they're staying on course, that movie isn't that terrible. But but the moments where you can tell people are given free reign, like Jim Carrey's allowed to improvise, that's when that movie starts going off the rails, and it really feels it.
Yeah. Yeah, and also not to speak ill of the dead, but Joel Schumacher could not frame an action sequence to save his life.
Well, yeah, he took his inspiration from the Adam West series, and that was not a good place to take it.
Why are all these fight scenes in close-up?
Well, and that's something that there is something about filming a Batman action sequence.
Yeah,
that is because I still remember watching Batman Begins, and Chris Nolan basically really wanted you to see Batman's left shoulder during almost every single fight sequence, and that was it. Zack Snyder and Tim Burton so far reign supreme on filming Batman action sequences.
Yeah.
And Zack Snyder does take the lead on it with the Batman v Superman sequence, but there's for some reason there's something about Batman in a fight sequence that's just not easy to film.
Yeah. But back to Gremlins 2, though. I learned a really interesting thing about how they filmed the movie because, 6 years have passed, as we've mentioned before, with the original movie. And they filmed all the Gremlins puppets with the live actors in that. And what they decided to do in most cases with New Batch is just film them separately, completely separately. We'll do all the work with the humans now, and then we'll film all the puppet stuff later. And the only time Gremlins ever show up is if they can get one of the actors to man the puppet. Like actually, John Glover. There is one scene where one of the Gremlins is attacking him, and he's literally puppeteering it, and there's a fake hand below it, like Figment. That's And
unfortunately, I just watched it last night, and you can really kind of tell. In the first movie, most of it was kind of shot at night or in darkened buildings and darkened rooms, so you could hide a lot of the puppetry, and it actually made it look a lot better. This one, it's in a well-lit office building. There's not hiding a whole lot of stuff there, and you can tell. Especially when they have all the composite shots, where they have the Gremlins moving on their own or whatever, and you can see the full body Gremlins. You got the black line outline fairly often. It's small. It's small, but you can see it very, very often.
Honestly, I think the only time it really was jarring to me, though, was when Gizmo was running from the construction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only reason for that was because I was sitting there watching it going, his feet, are they touching the ground, or is he like running so fast he's in the air? Like there were just a couple of moments like that but I mean, it's that whole like first Star Wars, you barely notice the black lines because they're in space. It's amazing. And then you go into New Hope, or you go into Emperor Strikes Back with Hoth, and it's blatantly obvious. And it's that weird sequel trend of let's put our visual effects in harsh light and
really show them off. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was the thing with those effects. They are more so jarring, especially because Gremlins came out when I was 12. The original Gremlins came out when I was 12. So there was almost like a mystery as to how they brought the Mogwai and the Gremlins to life. And in this movie, it's just they're puppets. Flat out, they're puppets.
Not even hiding it.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not to take away from the movie itself. I really dig this movie. I think that it took a lot of balls for them to make a movie that makes fun of its own concept so out front as this movie does, with that group of scientists who's just asking about how the rules work and then twisting them back into the real world about, well, what if he eats something at 11 p.m. and something gets it stuck in his teeth, like a sesame seed or a caraway seed, and it falls out after midnight? Technically, he didn't eat it.
And what if he eats something and then goes over an international time zone? I mean, it's always midnight somewhere.
That's the line that killed me. What about international time zones?
Yeah, I mean, when you start like introducing like the different types of Gremlins, that's when now they're just kind of having fun with us.
Yeah,
they're just doing whatever the hell they want right at this point.
I just want to know. It's like everybody in that building is working for Clamp, but they like there's no rhyme or reason for what type of an industrialist he is. I mean, he's running a media network with all these channels that became real channels in real life, except for maybe the archery network. He's got scientists. He's got Christopher Lee as Dr. Catheter in there. It's just like, what is your business? What do you do?
Well, I think a lot of the here is this super rich egotistical dude, and I couldn't tell you what the hell he does. I think a lot of that stems from them designing him in half off of Donald Trump.
They did. Actually, if you count out the syllables to their names, there's 3 syllables.
Well, his book is identical in cover to Trump's book.
Right.
Like as soon as I saw that, I went, "Oh, okay, I know who we're doing." And then as soon as we had the Doomsday video, I was like, "Oh, but we're throwing in a little Ted Turner." Okay, cool.
Yep.
All right, I know what we're doing.
And like he in the comment that like he always wants all the movies in color. He doesn't like black and white. That's Ted Turner right there.
Yep.
Yep.
But the other thing with that too is John Glover was the perfect casting choice for this, because essentially starting in 1998 or 1988, going all the way into 1991, this was his character. This is every character he played was a version of this.
But he's an egotistical, super billionaire boss. But you know what? He's charming. It's John Glover. He's charming. He's likable. He's charismatic. He's fun.
They had actually written the character to be more despicable. And then John Glover comes on and they're like, you know what? How can you hate this dude? I mean, he's made a career out of playing like asshole dads, like on Smallville and in Shazam.
Yeah, and hell, even when he was Lex Luthor's father, you still liked him.
Yeah.
He was still disturbed. He was still unnervingly charming when he was in that role. Like it unnerved you a little bit, but you were charmed by him. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I mean, quite honestly, like the real villain of the entire piece might be his assistant.
Robert Picardo's character.
Yeah,
Yeah, the Forrester or whatever.
yeah, Forrester. Because back then you still had to have your yuppie scum character. It was 1990 after all.
He's got his hot trophy wife too.
That's true. But
In
the main cast, Zach Galligan, who is, he's just that dude that you either know him from the Gremlins movies or you know him from some direct-to-video horror film from 1987. So I legitimately don't think I've ever seen him in anything else, and he's in 2 movies that are part of people's childhoods.
I mean, he's a charming every guy.
Yeah.
Nothing spectacular about him. He's fun to watch. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
We'll say he is better written in this film than I think he was in the original.
I would 100% agree with that. His character should have been a child in the first movie. I mean, I know he's supposed to get a love interest, but the way that everybody treats Billy, first of all, he's an adult named Billy, and it's like, oh, we get you these toys for Christmas. Oh, great, yay! I'm not a 30-year-old man with things to do and responsibility.
Yeah, he definitely seems like he should have been younger. Maybe not a kid, but I would say maybe like senior in high school.
I would have taken senior in high school.
Maybe first year college at most.
But, Phoebe Cates is Phoebe Cates in this movie. She was Phoebe Cates in the last movie.
Yeah.
I will say, though, I bought them more as a couple in this movie.
Yeah.
Because I did back-to-back both movies last night. And I was watching the first one, reading that she felt like kissing him in the first movie was like kissing her brother, and I watched it. I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I feel like I'm watching right now. Yeah. But in this one, it felt like an actual couple.
No, exactly. I do love too that they did that callback to her most traumatic moment,
Lincoln's birthday.
With Lincoln's birthday.
Again, making fun of because if there's like a biggest issue that people have with the first one is that Christmas story just grinds the movie to a standstill. Right. And it's completely, I mean, what is the point of it? There is no point to it. Well, and so this one, they just completely make fun of the whole thing.
Right, exactly. I mean, that movie's the whole reason why you have to wait till your kids don't believe in Santa Claus anymore. Yeah. To show them that scene.
But, the thing is, I would have loved to have seen more of those stories in the first movie. Because I appreciated the callback, but I would have loved, for me, I wanted more of those little stories and just like them getting progressively worse until you literally get to this moment where you're sitting there going, just so at this time, because she started the story this time and I thought it was funny, but I would have loved to have sat here and been like, oh dear God, what happened to her family now?
There's a guy, he looked just like Abraham Lincoln. Okay, yeah, come on, honey, let's go.
Well, that whole bit where, they break the film, and in the original cut, they break the film and they do the shadow puppets, and then someone pulls Hulk Hogan out of the audience to yell at the Gremlins, yes. Dude, brother. And then on the home video version, it's John Wayne. Now, Mike, it's still John Wayne on the HBO Max version, right?
Nope, it's Hulk Hogan.
They brought back the Hulk. Oh, jeez.
In fact, I think it's actually much more rare to find the John Wayne one. It seems like most versions are the Hulk Hogan.
I remember when I was working for Adopt a Video, and that was one of our regular movies, and they had the thing with John Wayne instead.
So I know it wasn't a Suncoast Video, but sorry.
Yeah,
but it was close enough.
Yeah, I rented on Prime, and I had Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
Doing his whole spiel.
Yeah, that's interesting. Interesting story about that, by the way, because in his Tome of Lies, Hulk Rules, he talks about that experience of shooting that scene and getting excited to work with Steven Spielberg And he's like, well, why isn't Steven here? And someone told him, oh, he's shooting another scene. Steven Spielberg was an executive producer, which essentially means he's in an office thousands of miles away. And this was a Joe Dante movie, and you're a big tanned liar. So
calls once a week to make sure that something he didn't like was taken out.
Right, exactly. God, this was 1990 also. This is right before like he started getting serious as a filmmaker again.
Oh yeah, this is what Jurassic Park was 3.
Jurassic Park and Schindler's List were 3 years away.
Yep.
So, yeah. God, what was his most? I think it might have been Always. Might have been his most. That and Last Crusade.
Always, I think, was 89.
Yeah, as was Last Crusade.
Yeah.
And I'm almost 100% sure he didn't release a movie in 1990. As a director. I have to make that clear. Are you looking at it, Mike? So no, what was the next one?
Produced by Michael Fennell. I'm trying to find. Oh, there he is. All right. Where is his filmography?
I'm looking up Steven Spielberg right now. I'll tell you right now.
I got it. Okay. Yeah. Always in Indiana Jones and Last Crusade were 89.
Yep.
Hook was 91. Hook was his next one.
So there was nothing in between. Okay.
Yeah, it went Hook, and then it went Jurassic Park, Schindler's List.
Right. So he spent his time like dumping money into these movies, like this. Joe Dante's Inner Space, which is a brilliant movie. And if you haven't seen it, Tom, have you seen Inner Space?
Oh yeah.
Inner Space, is that the one with Martin Short?
Martin Short and Dennis Quaid.
I love that movie.
Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah, it is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
We should discuss that one at some point. That was a summer movie.
I would be down for that.
I just have to find where that movie is like located streaming wise.
Yeah.
And just like Inner Space as well, I am 100% convinced that the video cassette was exclusively released as a widescreen formatted VHS. Because Joe Dante was one of those directors that it has to be the way I shot it.
Good for him.
Yeah, without because back in Suncoast, you can take another drink, Mike. You used to be able to buy one or the other. You could buy some movies. All movies were pan and scan, and then some movies were widescreen. But like Gremlins 2, Inner Space, Woody Allen's Manhattan, Blade Runner, the movie Beckett. These were all movies that you could only buy them in a widescreen format, and it pissed so many people off because you didn't look at the diagram I just showed you, showing you get more picture. Dumbass.
What I used to do once I had DVD and VHS hooked up to a TV is I'd have like Ghostbusters, like when they go into the lobby and they're talking to the
that's a good
hotel owner.
Yeah,
that, like with all them, I'd have it paused at the same spot on the VHS and the DVD, so I'd show people it paused on the DVD or on the VHS, turn it off so it showed the DVD in widescreen just to show them the difference.
Yeah,
good call.
Well, that's interesting too, Tom, because like Sony, Columbia has had, because they no longer do that because they don't do VHS anymore, the worst panning and scanning mechanism ever. You could tell if there was something you needed to see on the other side of the screen, they would drag that shot. And it was
get that weird motion blur.
Oh, it was awful. It was all because I remember that for A League of Their Own, watching that in full screen and going, no, bad, stop.
I remember that for Ghostbusters, and for some reason I remember that from my best friend's wedding.
Also a Columbia picture, so
I don't know why I remember it, but I remember watching that movie on VHS, not knowing what pan and scan was, and wondering why they did such a bad job filming the movie that it looked weird every single time they moved the camera.
Yeah, no, it was bad. But yeah, I believe this one was shot fully widescreen. I love the fact that you got Dick Miller back for this one.
Yeah.
As the old cranky guy who was all anti-foreigners in the first movie, and now all of a sudden he realizes he wasn't crazy.
I don't know
Back
why
when
he's
it's
in
not
the movie.
racism, it's paranoia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why he's in the movie, but yeah, sure. It's always nice to see him back.
You know, it's Dick Miller. You don't say no to a Dick Miller
Yeah.
cameo.
Yeah. I imagine that he and Dante must have been best friends because I mean he wrote him into Small Soldiers. So
Yeah.
Yeah. God Lord, what was I just going to say about is it Dick Miller or no? It was about racism and stereotypes. Yeah, the everlasting Japanese tourist with the camera.
Getty Watanabe.
Getty Watanabe, Long Duck Dong.
Yep.
His career kind of fell off when people realized that's a terrible thing to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, once that really wasn't the way you wanted to portray people in movies anymore, his career kind of died.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Getty. We like you. You seem like a nice guy, but yeah. Yeah, it's really tough to kind of sum up this movie because this really is more of a movie of moments than it is an actual plot-driven film.
Yeah.
I mean, you get the whole thing. Mogwai comes back into the picture. Mogwai gets wet. Gremlins eat. Mogwai turn into gremlins. They wreak havoc for a solid hour of the movie. And then they had to find out an ingenious way to kill them.
Yeah.
It's the moments of the movie that you remember. You remember the character, like the brainy, like brain gremlin.
Brainy gremlin. Yeah.
Tony Randall. And the lady gremlin. And like the spider gremlin.
Yeah.
Like the spider legs and the Pantera music playing behind it.
It's like the first movie was a horror comedy. There's a horror movie with comedic moments. This one is a comedy horror. Like, there are moments in the first movie that were just there for the scare. There are moments in this movie that are just there for the comedy.
Yeah. But I'd also say too, this isn't much more of a horror than it is kind of like a gross out comedy.
I mean, like the spider gremlin is definitely more the creepy side.
Right. What about the bat gremlin that could go outside in the light?
What a device to just waste exclusively so that way you can make the Batman symbol in a wall.
Yeah. It was our big hit last year. Leave us alone.
We have an entire serum that could make them impervious to the light. Nah.
I mean, the scene where Murray Futterman is fighting the Bat Gremlin, that's some of the worst puppetry and composite shots I've ever. I mean, there are moments he's like, "Look, where is it? Where is it? Oh!" He's like, "Well, he's right over there. Why are you looking over there?" Half the time when there are composite shots, they're not actually looking where they're supposed to be looking.
But part of that, and I hate to make the excuse for this, but Joe Dante is a schlock horror director.
Yeah,
I mean, it all gets summed up in the movie Matinee. That this is what Joe Dante's deal is. He is very good at high concept sci-fi and high concept, horror comedy. And that's just kind of this is a touchstone to that. Now, I didn't know that in 1990 seeing this movie. I kind of found that out when I started I like the work of Joe Dante. But I just kind of feel like, knowing what I know now, that I'm fine with the bad stop motion and the bad compositing.
It's something that it doesn't. I don't mind it, but it does take away a little bit from the enjoyment for me, especially considering how good the first movie is without the kind of obvious compositing.
Right, but again, you'd mentioned it earlier. They shot all that in the dark.
Yeah,
this was the bright New York skyline.
Yeah,
I can only imagine that all the gremlins walking out of the fog shot from the first Gremlins. I can only imagine what that shot would look like if all the street lamps were lit and giving them full light.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it would look that much better than than what we had in this film. But yeah, I honestly, I'm the flip. I think if this movie had like amazing, like you would swear they were real visual effects, I feel like that would have taken me out of the film.
I agree.
Because this is very much. You put it great. Joe Dante. He is a camp. He is a camp director who has a unique gift for taking these strange concepts, like you get from Gremlins, Matinee, Small Soldiers, The Howling, all these different films, taking these concepts that you hear and they make you, go, what? And then you watch them in a movie and you go, oh, I guess it does kind of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say he has that gift more than most. He would have been the king of kings during the era of like Bird Eye Gordon and all of those guys. Like during that era, he would have been the king because he would have just been able to knock it out one after the other without thinking twice.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing with this movie too is that, and I've said this about several movies we've talked about in the past, that it's a product of its time. This movie doesn't work now. Say you released Gremlins in 2014, completely as is, maybe with updated special effects. I don't think it works as well. And then this movie would completely, it would irritate people, I think. It's got its niche. It came out at the perfect time, and I'm happy. I'm happy this movie is a movie that I look at fondly, considering it's, like I said, it's not much of a movie. It's just it's a cartoon and it's a ride.
Actually, I think the first movie would stand up better now. Well, not better than it was, but if you took the two movies and showed them now, I think the first one would kind of go over a little bit better than the second one. Especially, I feel like say give it to like Blumhouse, they could probably make it into a pretty creepy little horror thing.
Honestly, I hesitate to think what a modernized version of the Gremlin would look like, or the Mogwai for that matter. I mean, do you make the Mogwai's teddy bear cute, and then you just turn the Gremlins into these just CG gargoyles?
Well, and I think if you were to try to modernize these movies, it would be kind of like Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. You would have one of two ways to go: either focus on what you're doing social commentary wise, which is the much, much harder way to go, and therefore would probably not be the way to go.
Yeah.
Or you try to show how you can take the visual effects aspect of what you're doing and crank it up a notch. Which you would need somebody who isn't just going to go, well, we'll just make them all CGI characters. You would need somebody who like got a hold of Weta Workshop or Jim Henson Company and said, hey, let's give people something that they don't get to see that often.
Yeah. And I mean, that's one of the things that we watched Jurassic Park last week. And the reason why the special effects in that movie hold up as good as they do is because they're composite shots between puppets and CG. And I think that maybe that blend would work better. I'm trying to remember, Mike, was there or Tom, is there any CG in this movie at all, or is it all practical effects and composite shots?
I believe it's all animation and composite.
Okay.
With and then the practical where they could.
Yeah, I mean the Electric Gremlin is completely animated. I don't think there's any. I mean, again, this is 3 years before Jurassic Park, and that's where CG really kind of got its kind of huge big start. I mean, it was used a little bit, but
well,
I don't think.
Well, you haven't seen the Lawnmower Man, Mike.
I've seen enough.
Well, this is probably a year or two after Young Sherlock Holmes, I think.
Young Sherlock Holmes was 85.
Oh, you're talking about like the stained glass?
86, yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking that's younger than it is then.
Yeah.
and I'm just thinking the fact that, that's Chris Columbus who wrote the first one, so he and Dante would be able to be on the same wavelength to stuff. But we're not, we're in that realm where we're pretty close to Abyss and Terminator 2, if not sitting in between them. So the existence of doing CGI, just maybe not living creatures, does exist.
Yeah, actually, you're absolutely right about that, Tom. It sits dead in between them. Abyss was 89, T2 was 91.
Yeah, but also this movie also had a budget of $50 million, so I don't think they had the budget for any kind of CG of any kind of note in this one.
And that's one thing that the budget definitely went towards the puppets. The puppets look better. They I guess they made the puppets bigger to show off more detail.
Yeah.
So there are times when there are people's, like there's that scene where Gizmo is building all his Rambo homage weaponry, and they actually had somebody's hands in little Gizmo gloves doing all the
that makes sense.
Yeah.
And definitely like especially the Gremlins, when they had close-ups of like the faces and all that. Especially the brain gremlin, that was one of the most articulated puppets I have ever seen. They had the mouth going completely. It was very well done, but that's probably where most of the budget went to.
Yeah, the articulation on all of them in this film was spectacular. They knew to put that time and that love into that place, and it showed.
Yeah,
especially with designing the Gremlins, before and after Eating After Midnight, to be unique, as opposed to the first one where it was just Stripe with his, Stripe was the only unique one. The rest of them all looked the same.
Yeah.
Giving them all so much more personality and life. It's part of what I liked more about this one as opposed to the first one.
Yeah. Actually, it's interesting too, because two of those initial Mogwai that turned into Gremlin were Lenny and George from Of Mice and Men.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Like the old grandpa and the guy with the
Lenny. Yeah, Lenny's the dumb one.
And then you had the one with the psycho eyes.
Yeah. But yeah, no, you're right. They did. There is more differentiation between all the different characters. And the other thing too is that, and this is what throws me about the first movie, is everything is just pretty much straightforward movie until the bar scene. And then they cut to the flash dance bit with like the cuts and the dancing and all that. And all of a sudden I'm like, this is a completely different movie. And until they burn the bar down, then that's when they can go back to it being, okay, we now return you to Gremlins.
Yeah.
Whereas this movie is nothing but that bar scene just played out on a 30-story building.
Yeah. The whole Busby Berkeley's musical number at the near the end.
Where the Warner Brothers.
They put down and it's the female gremlin, and then it just opens up and there she rises. Dude, this is straight up Busby Berkeley right there.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's, honestly, it has very little to do with everything because of, the original Gremlins was released in 1984. Warner Brothers is one of those studios that is so proud of their legacy. And 1990, again, perfect time to start whipping out all this stuff that we used to do, all these amazing things that we used to do. When you get back to like that, the VHS version of them breaking the film, and you've got John Wayne from a Warner Brothers movie in there, and the Busby Berkeley stuff, all the Looney Tunes.
Even during the end credits, you got like 3 different times Daffy Duck will come in. It's like, oh, you're still here? Oh, okay. Like, why are you still here? There's really nothing to say. Look at this. There's nothing.
Stick around in 30 years and someone will lose their shit over Elmer Fudd losing his gun. I'm sorry, is your whiteness just so threatened right now? You're despicable. Yeah.
Warner Brothers definitely goes through the biggest back and forwards of taking itself seriously and not taking itself seriously at all. And this, like, these two movies definitely represent those different eras, because you literally went from a movie where they're like, hey, let's have the evil gremlins like a Disney movie. And hey, take out that scene because we want this movie to be this way. And then this movie, oh, you had them. You had one of the gremlins tattoo the Warner Brothers logo on their chest. That's hilarious. Cool. Okay. Brent, cut.
Have you ever been to a Warner Brothers store? I mean, they don't exist anymore, but
I actually not only have I've been to the Warner Brothers store at Warner Brothers in Los Angeles.
Really?
Actually, the first school that I went to, when we did our final films showing them, they actually got to be screened in one of the theaters inside Warner Bros. Studios.
Oh, nice.
So I've actually stood underneath the famous Warner Brothers water tower.
Oh, nice.
Wow, the closest I got to was the Sony lot.
Closest I got
I've
to
been there, so
closest I ever got to the Gremlins anything was doing the Universal Studios Hollywood tour, because that downtown area, you know, the same one that's in Back to the Future, and you can't unsee that once you realize that they're both the same downtown.
The poor movie theater in that town, it just takes a beating.
It does. And it goes from playing Disney movies one year to like some serious fucked up pornos like a year later in
And then
85.
30 years before that, a Ronald Reagan movie.
Right, exactly. What the hell's going on?
That might be worse than the porno, the Reagan movie.
It might be. It might be.
And also, it also showed A Boy's Life, which was E.T.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in summation, this movie is, I don't know, it's really tough to rate. It really is, because I love this movie, but I have a hard time describing it to people who are not familiar with anything Gremlins.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely prefer the first movie, without a doubt. I love the first movie. But this one, it's almost a fun palate cleanser from the first one. The first one, you got, you know, all the kind of the scares, the creepy little, and this one, okay, I'm past all the scares. I'm laughing. Let's move on to whatever's next. It's a palate cleanser. It's an aperitif.
Good way of putting it. How about you, Tom?
Yeah, this is definitely not a movie that's easy to describe. I mean, in the world of meta films, it lives lost on the road in between Deadpool and Scream for what kind of meta you're going for. For me, I find the humans in this one a lot more likable than the original. The advancements that they do make in the visual effects and practical effects in this one are phenomenal. I feel like they kind of waste Gizmo, which frustrates me a little bit. But I mean, overall, like, I do prefer this one. It's not a photo finish, but it's pretty close. But I do prefer this one over the original.
Okay. I can agree with you on the Gizmo thing. We really haven't brought up Gizmo that much at all. I kind of feel like the only reason why he's there is to make other Mogwai, and to do that homage to Rambo at the end of it. We have the technology now. We can make him do this.
I honestly would have preferred, instead of having Gomez Adams squirt him with water from the water fountain, I honestly would have preferred if we had just made Christopher Lee more evil. They had figured out the water on him, multiplied him. So we already had some extra Mogwai. We already had some of them turn into gremlins. Like, if we just started the movie with, by the time that Billy finds them, he's too late.
Yeah.
I kind of would have preferred that over weird, ridiculously dumb accident.
Yeah.
But they,
I see. I know what you're saying. I can definitely agree with that. So
it also breaks my heart that they waste having Henry Gibson in the movie.
remind me, Henry Gibson.
He is the head Nazi in the Blues Brothers.
Oh, okay.
And he is the employee fired for taking an extra smoke break on the security camera.
That's right. Okay.
I saw him and I was like, I got to IMDb right now to see if I'm right. Nailed it.
There's actually a lot of cameos in this movie too. Jerry Goldsmith is in this.
Julia Sweeney
is actually the director for Grandpa Fred.
Mm.
So this movie continues the tradition of small roles played by future Breaking Bad stars by having Hank from Breaking Bad as the SWAT guy who shoots one because he moved.
and actually the mother in the movie theater is the mother from the first movie.
Yeah,
that's right. But yeah, these I'm kind of with Tom on this one. I think it definitely is a photo finish. And I think it's just because this movie is so. It's like I can almost show this movie to my daughter more so than I have. We're holding off Gremlins until Christmas for her because it is a Christmas movie.
Does she still believe in Santa Claus?
No, she does not.
Okay, then
no.
She's good.
Judy Blume ruined that for us.
Yeah,
but I think she's prepared to watch it, but I kind of want to show her this one with no context. It's not like they don't describe the rules straight out the gate. Oh, it's a mogwai. Don't feed him after midnight.
Yeah, but I think there's some like the president, the Abraham Lincoln's birthday joke. She would not get.
Yeah, but there's always got to be jokes that you're just not going to get the first time around. Yeah.
It'd be interesting. I mean, yeah, it's always interesting to show someone a sequel first. And just see what happens mentally to them when they experience it.
I have in mind of showing my kids Batman Returns. They have not seen Batman yet, but I really kind of want to show them Batman Returns because, quite honestly, it's a better movie.
Disagree.
Okay. You're allowed to have your opinion, Mike.
I know.
As wrong as
I will agree that it is a better movie, and just in the fact that even giving the handicap of lack of notoriety at the time, it's just nice to have a Batman movie that doesn't go, oh, by the way, let's show you how his parents died.
Dark Knight.
Yeah, but they already went over that in the first. Yeah, we know. They were literally they're foreign movie. Never mind. Argument's lost on me now. No, I mean the only thing with Batman.
If you count the Adam West movie.
Oof. The only thing about Batman Returns that
you got to show them that one
is just I had forgotten how after I watched it a few years ago, and I had forgotten just how goofy the Penguin siege of Gotham is. It really is goofy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
it's super cartoony, but I've always loved that about it.
Yeah, I just love it too because it's a cold movie, but it warms my heart. I don't know if that's kind of crazy. It's also my favorite Batman poster out of all the Batman movies.
Oh, the ice,
the snow blowing off the bat symbol.
Yeah.
Yes.
I prefer my Tim Burton movies as original concepts. If he's going to do Batman, I kind of want to do a Batman movie. I don't want to do a Tim Burton movie with Batman in it.
Okay. Well, speaking of which, Mike, I think this Christmas we definitely got to hit Edward Scissorhands,
which I've still never seen.
You disappoint the shit out of me.
Well, I do that a lot. Come on.
That's true. Also released in 1990. So anyway, Tom, thank you so much for joining us. It's
absolutely.
Last time we talked was on your podcast, which I was you could go plug for us.
Well, our show's been on a bit of a hiatus moment, but Movies After Work is myself and good friend Alex, as we discuss movies, movie news, movie trailers, often from the perspective of two tired parents of toddlers that work jobs all the time. But yeah, you can find us Twitter, movies at movieswork, moviesafterwork@gmail.com if you, for some reason, feel the need to email us. And in appreciation of that plug, let me take a drink.
Oh, look at that. It's a meta plug of our own.
Ooh.
Tom got that mug right at our TeePublic store just by going to TeePublic and typing in the words Geek Salad Podcast. And now he can have hot beverages whenever he likes with our faces on them.
So hold on. If we're going meta, does that mean the Gremlins are going to start this this video stream?
No, but I just have to make sure that we end the video stream before another Andy comes down the stairs and we look at each other, because then the world collapses upon itself. And given 2020, that's gonna fucking happen.
We are on that pathway right now. Yeah. Although honestly, I feel like Gremlins would be a chance of partial improvement of the situation at this point.
Exactly. Oh, these little Chinese creatures that turn into awful monsters if you feed them.
I'm just imagining, you know what? If they really wanted to go really out there,
yeah,
have at least one of the Gremlins make it to the ocean.
Oh, well,
apocalypse.
Chances are, I don't think you're going to get a Gremlins 3. And I think it's just one of these movies that is so sacrosanct in people's nostalgia. I don't think anyone is clamoring for a remake.
Heard rumors that they may try to do an HBO Max prequel series.
God damn it. Well, actually, I'd be okay with a prequel series. If it's anything like the Dark Crystal prequel on Netflix, I'm fine.
Yeah. No, I mean, definitely in the modern day remake of Gremlins, I agree. It definitely has a post-credit scene where a gremlin goes running into the water and it goes dark as you hear the bubbling.
Ooh.
I can write a post-credit scene.
Oh, yeah.
I can't write a movie to save my life, but I can write a post-credit scene.
I'm the master of the ambiguous ending, so... So anyway, what were your thoughts on Gremlins 2? Did you like it? Do you like the original one better? Do you remember seeing this in the theater, or is this just one of those things you kind of just discovered because you had a friend said, you got to watch this. This is fucking crazy. Leave a comment below. Please keep it civil as always. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button if you have not already. And Mike and I host a little podcast called Geek Salad. You can get the audio right here, but you can also go to whatever pod chaser that you use, be it iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcast, or iHeartRadio. We already mentioned our aforementioned TeePublic store, and you can follow us on the socials. We are mainly active at Geek Salad Radio, but we are also on Facebook at Geek Salad Podcast. So, Tom, thanks again for joining us. I really love having you on here.
Thank you guys for having me yet again.
I think I'm going to preemptively invite you to next week's show, because next week we celebrate our independence. He's in. He's in.
Welcome to Earth.
Mike, you need to watch that. Do you have a copy of it?
Oh, I've seen it.
You've seen it enough that you can remember it, like, because I can?
I've seen it a couple times, and I don't really feel the need to watch it more, because...
That's fine, Mike. That's cool. You know what, though? With the 4th of July coming up, it's a summer movie. Why not?
One viewing of that film, and it should permanently be etched into your noggin.
That's true.
It's a movie that only... It's got, I mean... everything involved in that movie. It is a permanent burn into your brain film.
From the moment they blow up the White House to everything else, it's in there.
To Welcome to Earth, to I'm sorry, that's what I heard him say. And I
gave it a cold.
And infecting the mothership with a MacBook, a 1995 MacBook. We are gonna have some fun with this.
Okay, is that your turn for that? Yeah, okay.
What's that?
Is that your term for it? Sure. Okay.
Oh no! Well, Mike, we gotta have. We haven't had a movie where we have just been actively able to have just a Schadenfreude watch.
I like not having Schadenfreude. Thank you very much.
I know, but we haven't had one in a while. And quite honestly, Mike, with the way this year has gone, I need to vent about something stupid.
I'm right here.
There we go. So anyway, Tom, thanks again. And until next time, I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
Go forth, be nerdful, and don't feed us after midnight, please.